with Rex and Limps. Thank you for the love that you've been showing us. Thank you for the subscriptions.
Yeah.
Thank you for the likes. We really, really appreciate it. Again, we are not marital advisors or like counselors, none of that. We are just really storytellers.
Yeah.
We've been walking this journey so far, and we're at a point where we are sharing who we are with you. I hope you appreciate it. And yeah, again, please like and subscribe to today's video. We have an interesting topic today, which is in-laws. Ooh. Are we doing the in-laws scary thing today?
No, we're not doing the in-law scary thing. I mean, we're going to talk about, firstly, meeting in-laws, because we all know how daunting that experience can get. You know, are they going to like me? Are they going to approve of me? And then also we're going to talk about the role that our parents play in the growth of one's marriage, not just our marriage, anyone's, in the growth of one's marriage. I mean, in any relationship, there's tension and drama. You know, the stories that everyone has heard around in-laws, I mean, they'll never end. I think any relationship, be it a friendship or a marriage or siblingship, has its drama. But that's not what we're focusing on today. Today we're talking about how our parents have influenced us positively in our marriage. When did you meet the family?
So the day I met Dim's family was the day she was graduating. Yeah, 2014, 2015. She had just got a master's in applied drama with distinction. So it was like a big occasion. Her family was coming from Lesotho, and I was like, we're gonna get the families to meet on the day, because I just wanted to be there. So like, why don't you bring your mom, and my parents will be here, and we'll meet after the graduation, you know. So I had just gotten my license that morning. So I like, I just got my license, we're coming through. So from the license department, I went home, showered quickly, and then grabbed my mom and we went to Wits. So we got to Wits a little bit late-ish, sort of, but Dims had not yet gone on stage, so we got there right in time. We saw her get off stage.
I saw your mom from like
backstage.
distance, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so emotional, yeah.
So we got there, gave her hugs. You had already met my family there.
Yeah, I had already met your family.
So anyway, backstage, and then outside officially we met, and I got to hug her mom, like, oh man, this is the face behind the voice. And your brother was also there. I had already met your brother, by the way. So I'd already met Dims's brother. Dims's brother had been playing like a father figure role in your life, because your Dim's dad passed away like when she was like 14. So I remember the first time I met your brother. This was like a couple of months before that, and we were at Wits, and he came along. He's like, hey, come meet my brother. I remember being like, yo, because like, Abdi's Chava, Dimpo's brother, is like a towering figure, very tall, very big. And I remember looking at him while we're chatting, and I'm like, man, if I mess things up with Dims, this guy's gonna put his hands on me. You know, he's gonna completely put his hands on me. If I ever hurt her, I have no business of hurting her. I love her, man. I'll take care of her. I don't want your hands on me. I don't want you. So on the day of this child, my brother was there, mom and your aunt, you know, and we met up with my mom. We went to a restaurant afterwards, and we really got chatting, and it was so great to have my mom there as well, you know, because then the two families were able really to talk about, you know, upbringing and just compatibility from a distance. Really.
It was so awkward though, because parents, when they were amongst other people, they always feel compelled to tell embarrassing stories. It's just like, no, don't tell my future mother-in-law stories like that. But it was
they
really
went
nice.
there.
Yeah.
But it was very lovely and very good, and it was a lovely environment to get them to meet, because it was celebratory as well. So a big tip, try to find a celebratory occasion that you can bring your in-laws in, because then the mood isn't like, ooh, the mood is like we're celebrating something and everybody's already in a
like
good
how
mood.
I went to meet your parents.
Yeah. So
Speaking of which.
So that's how I met the family. So how did you meet my family?
Yeah, so how I met Rex's parents. Before this happened, Lereko, I think, hadn't, recognized officially that we were a thing. I recognized this thing before he did. I think he thought we were just chatters, friends, or I don't know what. But when he had decided that we are an item and, you know, we'd expressed interest to court and pursue marriage, you know, gradually it was time to go meet parents. And I had to travel to the Val, where he's from, to go meet his mom and dad and the rest of his family. The night before, I was so nervous. I remember I couldn't sleep. I was trying to decide what to wear. Are they gonna like me? Are they gonna approve? You were helping me pick an outfit. Remember going, no, don't wear tight, don't wear tight things. Just, you know, be comfortable, wear a dress. So I picked a dress, you know, trying to look like I'm a koti. And I traveled to the Val. I remember when we drove into your yard in the Val, I saw your dad walk out the house, like the door house, and I was like, they're coming to meet me at the gate, you know, like it's a warm welcome. And then, so I got out the car, and then he's like, go, you know, go to say anything. So he basically was like caught up in his own stuff, and then he had asked me to quickly take him somewhere to go get. I was like, oh, okay, so I thought you were coming to throw balloons in the air or, you know, do whatever. So I was like, anyway. They're just like, hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. I'm like, what's dad? Come inside. And, you know, we sat, and then your mom was there, your sister was there, your sister's child, Nathan, was there. And it was a beautiful environment. I think I remember feeling tense right up until the moment I started talking to him. I think your father was the greatest surprise, because you always expect fathers to be like so strict, but he was conversational. He was asking.
When we came back.
So you guys left and you eventually came back. When you had left, I was with your mom and sister, and they were asking questions. It was so awkward. It's like girls chilling but not knowing what to talk about. But when you guys eventually came back and were sitting down, your dad was really conversational, asking me where I'm from, you know, about my parents. You know, you saw someone who was genuinely trying to know who I am. And then was asking if I like you, if I'm serious, if I would marry you. And it's like, you're not going to break our son's heart. And I remember thinking, are you not going to say, is he not going to break my heart? But anyway, so my favorite part was meeting Rex's grandfather. And, you know, your grandfather was like the family patriarch. Like, he was well known in the community, like, and beyond. He was a pastor, you know. I think actually just saying a pastor is not even doing it enough justice. I think there are a lot of people that we still meet till this day when they talk about Ndate, as he was fondly known, is they get teary. Like, he played a huge father figure to a lot of people. Like, he really was a gigantic figure from all the story, from different perspectives. You know, when you hear different people saying the very same thing about someone, then you realize how big of. So after having a chat with Rex's parents, Rex's mom, I think at this point she had already decided that, you know what, I like this girl. She's like, I think she should meet Ndate. And we'd already spoken to say, you're not going to meet Ndate yet, because, I mean, we're still trying to figure out what's what, who's who likes who. And, you know, meeting an older person, it sort of like puts a stamp on it. And, we, you know, we were not sure yet. We were still getting to know each other and each other's parents. But Rex's mom was like, she's meeting Ndate. And I remember you and your dad going, we spoke about this. Rex's dad calls his mom Leafy, we spoke about this. And I remember your mom going, come, let's go, you're meeting Dad. They took me by the hand, and obviously, like, I was like, okay, cool. And then I went, and I remember Rex and his father following behind, and they pulled me from one hand, and Rex's mom pulled me from the other hand, and they were literally.
It was like.
Yeah, I was like, no, she's not meeting her. No, she's meeting her today.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
In that moment, I was like, okay, I'm home. I mean, who is experienced on the first day of meeting future in-laws, you know, at the time? And your mom won that little battle, and we went outside into the cottage at the back. And I remember us walking in. I mean, I was so nervous, I don't even remember the words she said. You know, like, this is, I don't know, I don't even remember. But I just remember him going, oh, okay, so, Oman, who are you? And I was like, Kidimpo. Then I said, from where? I'm from Lesotho. Oh, okay. And then he was just like, okay, sit down. And then I sat down, and then he just laid his hands on me and prayed.
Mm.
And in that instinct, I bawled. My tears were just going, and I don't even know what. It was some sort of reaction that was happening, and I was like, "Thank you," and then it was like, "Nice to meet you." And I walked out. The mom held me by the hand, and we walked back into the house. And a month later, after that, he passed away.
Mm.
And I think, as far as parents go, I love my mom and dad-in-law with all my heart. Like, I mean, if you know me and my parents-in-law, like, it's probably even a disservice to say my mother-in-law. She's like my mom. But the influence that Ndade, your grandfather, had on everyone, it still lingers on. And I still value him till this day. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remembered him when we were talking about it. But yeah, it's like, I think we wanted also to just address like just the role that they've been playing in the seasons of our marriage. And I think importantly, I remember your mom, who, like, we don't get to see her much because she's in Lesotho. But I remember she came once and we had like a big fallout. I think it was one of the Decembers that had passed. And we had this huge fallout, and she had just visited us. And it was probably one of the biggest fallouts we've ever had.
Yeah.
And it happened when she was there with us. And I remember like she was just able to command us, to come and sit down, and she spoke us through that process of, guys, you're not just in this for yourselves. There are people watching, and we are watching you guys, and you need to learn to resolve problems, with low temperatures, and she was just able to speak wisdom into that. And I think we never had such a big fallout. We had a lot of others, but not as big a fallout. She was able to give keys, and I think that's the beauty of the in-laws, and including my parents, is that they were able to play a role of just being able to explain what is happening in the seasons that we were going through. I mean, we've moved quite a lot since we were married, but they were just able to get us to understand that it's a seasonal change, and it's not something permanent. It's seasonal, because they've walked that journey before. They know what they are talking about. They've lived longer than us. So it's just that role of setting a level of understanding for us that, listen, guys, you're doing okay. Don't worry. That words of affirmation, I think that's just what has carried us. They are words of affirmation. That's what carries us.
I think had she not been there, it would have turned out worse.
Yeah, we don't know.
Because she really commanded that situation at that point. And speaking of that, I always recall my mom. I've never called my mom and she's like, yeah, this husband of yours, she's hurting my child. I don't remember. She always calls me out. She always, even in front of you, I'm always like, whose side are you on? And at that time, it's a bit of a pinch. But when I sit and reflect about the things that my mom shares with me, they're just growth for me individually as a person, because she's able to call out the stuff that I'm refusing to recognize as my fault and my problem.
And just with my mom and dad, just the role that they've played was just really the role of honesty. Many a times they've sat us down and just became honest with us. They've been married for 32 years, I believe. And it wasn't like 32 years of perfection. It was just, they decided that they're going to work on it and stay together. And so one of the things that my dad is really, really passionate about is spending time together as a family. At home, like when we're there, he'd switch off the TV, sit down, let's learn about what the Bible is saying about this, always pointing us back to God, pointing us back to our foundation.
Your mom, the phrase that you've heard us use before, growth pains, is actually from Rex's mom. I remember a time, I don't even remember what had happened, but I was so down. It was, when we were at her house, and I just remember her saying, you don't need to overwhelm yourself about what you're going through right now. It's all just growth pains. Growing requires, adjusting, and sometimes it's painful. Don't lie to yourself and say doom and gloom, it's the end or whatever, because y'all love to be dramatic when you fight or when you're down or when things don't go right. It's just all part of growing. It's growth pains. And I appreciated that so much. So I carry that. It's sometimes a little bit of strain that you're feeling. We don't always have to, be down about it. Just take it as part of growing.
Yeah.
says, Dad, speaking of gathering, all your siblings are now married. Every time we're together, he calls all the couples together and he just imparts biblical wisdom all the time. Like, he loves the word. So that's all he shares when we're together. And that's what I really appreciate about your father, is that, sometimes we want to take advice from us. Listen to me. Like, I did this. But his advice is always rooted in the word. Always. Like, he'll never tell you something. In fact, when he wants to advise you, he'll ask you to go fetch the Bible. He'll ask you to be like, turn to what. And he'll always base it on the word of God. That's what I really appreciate about your dad.
Yeah. No, fantastic. I mean, we live in interesting times where, often everybody's complaining our marriages are just not working. In the time that we're living in, divorce rates are going high. And yeah, we can talk about that all day. But to be quite honest, we are trying to really take the time amidst the challenges that we're facing as a couple. We're trying to take the time to look at what is working, what is holding us together. And really our in-laws are one of those pillars that are doing it. So I think it's helpful just to look at those things that hold you together. Yes, there's all these things pulling you apart, but when these things are pulling you apart, what can you look at and point and say, this is what has been holding us together? So our parents have been really one of those pillars, and so this is what this video was really about. If you're married, we encourage you to do the same for yourselves. Look at what's holding you together. We were really great at knowing what is pulling us apart, but like now we're trying to take the time to look at what is holding us together. Why are we still a couple?
So everyone, thank you so much for joining us this week. Please like the video, please subscribe, join us again next time. Cheers.